Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Butter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. Sorry, I mean a wet welcome. As you can see, today is a rainy one. And it's also quite different. For one thing, I don't have much time at the moment. Normally for Wednesday, I have one batch of singing, and then Walking Wednesday, give or take food in between, and then sing again. And that's still the case, don't get me wrong. It's just that that's going to come about a little bit faster than before. So, as choir rehearsal was finished, or was finishing, I guess, it was the bell had rung. We actually, the director stopped me at the end and said he wanted to talk to me about something. I'm not sure if this is giving away too much for the people who attend the school that I work in, and thus will see this event. But he basically said that you know, am I going to be around for 6th period? Turns out I wasn't supposed to, not for today at least. But at 6th period, we'll be rehearsing, or well, he will be rehearsing with some other people, a rendition of Imagine for World Peace Day, which I believe falls on Thursday, if my intel is correct on that one. So, yeah, that's that. So he wants me to be one of the people who is featured in that. I think it's meant to be like 3 people singing like different parts of it, and then all together at some stages. Not really sure. But yeah, he was hesitant to have me come in early, because normally I have I believe it would be 8th and 9th period, if I'm going by what the timetable suggests, which is significantly later in the day. Normally after rehearsals finish at 4, there's like a huge gap, and then at 20 to 5 is when the next period starts, which is unusual, because that means that like what happens during that time is usually like a break section anyway. I don't know, but yeah, I went back, got some food, and yeah, right after this I will hopefully be close enough that I will make it in time. But yeah, aside from that, what else has been happening? Well, today was another welding day for me. In fact, this week, instead of focusing on electrodes, which I wrapped up at the end of on Thursday, with not much fanfare, because I thought I was going to be tested in some way by the welding teacher, or rather, you know, my skills would be put to practice sometime at the end of the lesson. But then afterwards, just went to me like, you know, have you learned something? Do you feel like they explained well enough in English? I said yes and maybe to those questions in that order, and that was that really. So yeah, this week we were focusing on TIG, which I still don't know what stands for, but I think the T stands for like tungsten. I don't know. If it was an English acronym, I would guess tungsten induced generation, but again, I have no idea. Basically, how you do that one is that you have this is after this like gun thing, like glue gun basically, but not glue gun. It's you actually, instead of putting we put on the end is like there's like a small tungsten rod that well, first of all you sharpen if it's not sharpened already, and then there's like this big tube that pumps gas into it, and the gas induces something an electrical current of some kind, and from there, if it's close enough to the actual metal, it heats up and you can weld like that. And yeah, like to begin with, actually, there was like a very surprising level of success rate from me. The first pass that I did of like wanting two plates together rather than just like the lines or something to get used to it, everyone was really enthusiastic about, and they jokingly said that I was better than one of their classmates, who then proceeded to shock himself right afterwards. So there you go. But yeah, like obviously that wasn't super consistent. Like, yes, consistently I'm able to do that one very well. Sometimes, of course, things happen where I melt one of the plates because I've spent too long working on it, or I don't know, or I don't get close enough, or the angle's wrong, or more often than not, if the tungsten actually touches one of the plates, it fuses to it. You have to pry it away, and then it needs to be resharpened. So stuff like that, basically. That was Monday for me. Today, little bit more of an issue. A few minor incidents. If you can see my finger here, I burned myself. That was because actually, wait, what was it? Oh yeah, I was trying to pry a plate away because you fuse it to the table and then you have to defuse it, and I accidentally nudged it, and I actually burned through the heat-proof like gloves. Well, not entirely heat-proof, like heat-resistant gloves, and then to my finger. And I was like, well, I mean, the glove still works. I just have to pry that away. Oh my! I didn't realize I could do that. Sorry, I just discovered a new feature on the phone. I can actually turn the camera around. That will send me pointing around directions next time I have to, I want to display something to people. That'd be fantastic. Yeah. And today as well, the explanations didn't go as smoothly. Because what happens is that there's like 3 people in each group who are supposed to be explaining to me in English how to do these things. And they've been sent a PDF guide of all like the terminology and whatnot. So they're aware. Or well, they should be aware. As it turns out, they forgot the guide existed, and the teacher had to remind me that it existed, because like I didn't get it sent. Because if I studied it, that would just that wouldn't be the point, would it? So basically, from that, that the one guy who was around most of the time today, because some of the time like 2 or 3 of them will be away welding their own stuff. They've got their own like ongoing projects, because I came in on the second hour anyway, so they'd already started on some things. So the one guy who was around there, he has the lowest English level out of the 3 in question, and so he was trying to like, what happens normally is that they try to explain to me things in English, then they say like a random word in Spanish, and I'll try to, if I know the word, because sometimes it's like a technical term thing, so they should know from the PDF, but I wouldn't know. But yeah, if I know the word, I'll be like, okay, that's what you're saying. That's how I say it in English. And then we continue. This time, not so much. Like most of the explanation was in Spanish, and the bits that were in English were not really properly portrayed. Well, it's not at the end. There's like a part where you kind of use these rods to give you like extra support and strength. What happened was apparently you were supposed to dab them, like behind the flame from the tungsten. You dab them, and then you continue to go forward in like a rhythmic motion. All that I was told was, of course, put the rod near the flame and gradually move it away. So I was leaving like a trail of molten rods behind that was very quickly covered up. And the world looked okay because you can do it without the rods, but that's not really the point, is it? So yeah, not really, not ideal. So I'm going to turn around here because actually that's a massive hill. I haven't finished talking yet. Yeah, not ideal. So the explanation wasn't as good today, but that wasn't nearly the worst of it. The worst of it was that I'm pretty sure I must have put this in the title somewhere, but the way that when you're welding two plates together, one thing that they introduced today was in order to put them to hold them in place while you fuse them together, I feel like points, so you can do the weld properly without like air getting in the way. While that's being held in place, they use this magnet thing that has like, you know, two sides to it and then at an angle, so you can actually hold them in place. Yeah, so what happened was like halfway through the class, sorry, I need to hold the camera up properly. Okay, halfway through the class, there was a moment where the teacher went, you know, everyone help with the beams, as in like, because there was apparently a lorry full of steel beams they wanted carried in for whatever reason. Again, I barely know what they get up to in that place. Yeah, so everyone was on deck for that except me, because when I showed up there, the teacher said to me, "You can keep on welding if you want." Now, I'd never welded by myself without you know, one of them there to supervise or to at least like guide, a bare minimum. So I was like, well, I mean, okay, sure, if that's what you want. So I thought, okay, well, fine, I'll try and keep going. So I went back to the plate that I was going to started welding that, and then at some point I thought that I was melting the one of the plates too much. So I stopped and was like, okay, fine, I'll recenter myself. And then I realized that, contrary to what I was usually told, because normally this method doesn't produce any like fumes or excess gas apart from what's already pumped through. Yeah, smoke was starting to emerge from behind the plates. So I was like, hold on a second, what is going on? And was like, oh, okay. The magnet has caught fire. Yeah, so like there was like actual fire coming from the magnet, not to the degree it was like gonna like spread or anything. I took it off and I blew in it and it went out immediately, but still, it was quite the moment. I was like, oh no, what have I done? No alarms went off or anything. It was a moment for me where I was like, okay, like I can deal with this, or I can, like if it would come to it, if it didn't work, I would raise the alarm, of course. But yeah, like it took like one blow and it was done. But then there were like burn marks on the magnet, to which when one of the students like came back, I explained to one of them, and they said like there's a lot of them like that. So apparently I'm not the only person who has done that historically. I also told the teacher what happened and made sure to emphasize that it was my fault, because obviously they weren't there. But then the teacher was like, oh, well, they should have warned you. It's like, well, maybe, but I mean, how are they to know? It's like an urgent moment with the whole beams and everything. Because the teacher does get annoyed when they take too long to respond to a instruction. So, yeah. That's the story of how I set something on fire and burned myself in two unrelated situations, but within the span of like an hour each. So, yeah, that's basically it for what I have time to go over. I know that a lot of people are expecting me to, I guess, comment on possibly KW's announcement on our latest stream, in which she declared that she is also leaving Quest of the Rising Sun. That was brought on by the fact that I had an epiphany, just at 4 a.m. and I immediately wanted to write that down so I wouldn't forget. So I went onto our new server. We haven't been on for some time because we were waiting for, again, KW, because she wanted to start this back up in March. And I posted there basically my idea behind how exactly we could keep going forward, considering that because Ghosty asked to decanonize season 2, we'd have to move back. And I was like, well, okay, well, how the heck are we going to do that? And I was like, oh, wait a minute, I've got an idea, because there were some things that were going to happen where, KW's character Hera was going to leave for some time, so that KW would have time to think of stories for her. So I was like, okay, well, I need to work that in, because the way that she leaves is entirely dependent on the situation in Breathing Moon, as was Doc's departure, which we never got to because Aiden resigned at the end of season 2. Yeah. And so suddenly that all came together in a way that I won't express yet, because obviously a lot of it's going to be moved forward. But that's when KW was like, oh, well, hey, that idea that you just had that solved everything? Yeah, here's another thing on top of that. I'm leaving. It wasn't like that, but it was something that she had weighed on for some time. It felt like that in the moment. Oh, there we go. There's another dog, of course. Yep, typical Walking Wednesday. What was I saying? Yeah. So, we had to talk about it afterwards, and then she announced it on the server, and then she told me she was going to announce it on the stream, then she announced it on the stream. So I was the first to know. So yeah, I've had time to compartmentalize that, the new DM that we have, or one we're testing out, was very enthusiastic about the idea. It was like, oh no, applause for Jacob for coming up with a solution, and and then after that, that quickly happens with no context behind it, and then Emma's like, can we agree this is over? But but then again, also mentioned that Emily's one of the people who really wants to continue it the most. BB also said that even if she was the last person standing, she would keep it going in some way. So we then went over ways to again accommodate the idea that I had already, which then Emily deemed to be to be the worst possible alternative, even though it is very similar to what we did for season 2, and that ended up being the best 3 episodes that we had. So I don't see the difference ultimately. There are some other caveats in the background of things that Kevin requested that we don't do in terms of handling the departure of Hera. Some things that she's told me that of ideas that she has had that I am definitely going to hold her to. That actually tie into some stuff that I was planning to do anyway. So there are, we have come up with ways. Where there's a will, there's a way. But yeah, obviously the numbers are thinning, so we're actually considering whether or not to actually audition somebody to join our ranks once we decide to come back. Which now I'm saying that could in fact be sooner than anticipated, because I still haven't got any news from Nova regarding lines, because he had an emergency with one of his friends. I need to check up on him again. But yeah, before that I can't really move forward without Morwenna at all for the remake. And I have been working on season 3 for Mutant Girl, because that's that's already been that's something I do in my in between hours at the school, because I can just take screenshots on the other computer and send them over. That being said, something Bomb mentioned, the last editing stream, got me thinking about ways to be more efficient about Mutant Girl. So by the time that the visuals start to come through, or I start to delegate those, I might end up having changed my method. Or maybe I'll say that for season 3, episode 4, in theory, because it would be around that time. I don't know. It's just that he inspired me to something specific that I won't reveal yet, but I'm considering. So there are there are things that I've been working on, basically, and yeah, there is stuff. But you know, obviously we don't have to wait until March. Whether or not we should is another matter, because obviously in between that time, you know, February, March time is always like crunch time for me, and even something as simple as 3 hours on a Thursday ends up being too much, not to mention that I now have work to consider. So what's going on there? I don't know. That's another conversation for another day, basically. But yeah, none of us have any grudges towards KW. It's just that, you know, timing wise, my goodness, that was a shock I didn't need first thing in the morning. But again, that was it. So yeah, it's also kind of tragic the fact that this was like the thing that she started, and then we got so invested in that she felt like beholden to. So now that we're carrying on without her, it feels it feels strange, but also like the right move anyway for all of us. So there we go. That's that, and I hope that I'm not late for the thing, because I can't check the time. So please leave a like or dislike, because your opinion matters. Subscribe to us already. And on that note, until next time, farewell.